Hello, I'm Jacob Wood, and this is my visualization dashboard. It displays my performance in the game Counter-Strike 2 to help me make decisions that will improve that performance. And the performance is broken up by match, by players, and by items, and then by how those players affect my performance. We're going to start with the match data graph over on the left, which is a parallel coordinates plot that's meant for exploring the data. So I can look at the different map names and slide that down to where divide the map names by the two different types of maps, which are CS maps and DE maps. And I can make that a group. So this could be CS maps, and this can be DE maps. And actually, this will be CS. This will be DE. I could say that that's how it looks, and then I could look at them together. I could separate them out and look at the subset of the information there. So I could also move the different things, the different axes on the plot to compare the relationship between these attributes to each other. For example, I might want to move, I can click these arrows with the lines on the end to move the KDR plot to the end, or to either end, or with the arrow key to move it down. So an example of how I'd use this is I know I'm going to be playing on a CS map one night, and I want to pick what side I'm starting on. So I would look at my CS maps, and then I could narrow down this to be one group, and then I could say compare my win rate with the CT side versus my win rate with the T side. So let's make this the T and CT. So we can look at the T side. When I'm on the CT side, I have a higher win rate, and the T side has a lower win rate. Oh wait, has a lower win rate, just by a little bit. So for the CS maps, I'd prefer to go with the CT side. And the kill to death ratio, which represents my personal performance, also is higher on the CT side. So those are two reasons that I want to pick that. And that's obvious because of how the chart's set up and the capabilities it has. Moving on to the next chart. So if we continue from this example, I know I'm on the CT side and I want to start on the Ts. And in this scenario, the rest of the graph has been changed based on the what I chose in the parallel coordinates plots, just to demonstrate that quick. If I lower my KDR down, you can see the KDR, the average KDR decreases. If I bring it back up, it goes up again. So in this specific situation, I want to pick my team. So I want to find teammates who that will increase my win rate and increase my KDR, and avoid teammates that will decrease both. So I can look at this graph here where each player is split up by their tier, which is filterable. And we can notice in this situation, the master players are they have a large effect on my win rate and KDR. So they're people I want on my teams. They're the highest performing players, so that makes sense. And then the um, bronze players don't have it, tend to have the opposite effect. When they're on my team, they they may not perform as well, but they may bring down my KDR and my win rate. But when they're on the other team, they bring up my KDR and win rate because they're easier to play against. So that's something that is good to know based on these graphs, and I can click on them to highlight them in the graphs, make them easy to spot, and compare the performance on my team versus the other team, and also highlight how I match up against them in my individual encounters on this graph. This is the player encounters graph, which is also filterable by tier, in addition to being filterable by tier and also colored by the different players' tiers. You can color it by weapon type, or whether it's the kill or death, just to make that very clear and get an good idea of the kill to death ratio. And we can have it display the different weapon types used to kill each player or that the player used to kill me. And this is also filterable by weapon type, so I could narrow it down to one weapon and see that's the proportion of the kills that I used the Negev for or the LMGs for. I can click on the individual weapons. That will highlight them in this other graph and everywhere else they appear on this same graph. An example of how I'd use this graph would be um, I know an opponent on the other team is becoming a problem. So say someone on the lower end of the kill to death ratio, like Unthink, and I'd say, oh, the Negev is an effective weapon against him because it's high up there, and I get a lot of kills against him with it. And then I need to watch out when he brings out the automatic rifles, which are his most used weapons against me, because he gets a lot of kills with those. And that's something to keep in mind when I play, and it affects what weapons I buy and how I strategize based on that player's presence. And then if I move down to it's also sortable by the most kills, most deaths, and most encounters in case I want to see people I match up with commonly. And if I move down to this last graph, that's the item efficiency graph. And it could be scaled either on a log scale to see how the kind of weapons compare to themselves, each other on the lower end, or the linear scale if we want to see how these large outliers compare to the rest. So the weapon efficiency in this case means the amount of kills based on per the money I spent on the weapon. And the way it's graphed also gives us an idea of what weapons I use often. So you could say I spend a lot of money on the M249 and the Negev and the revolver. And the LMGs are by far outliers based on how much money I spent on it. And this line here is kind of the average kill to cost ratio, and I'd want to target weapons that are above that line, like the Negev or the revolver, when I think about what I want to get to make them kind of get the most bang for my buck. But if I'm looking for a new weapon to use that I don't use as often, I can go to the lower end of the scale and see the Galar and the P250 both are above this line. Maybe that's something I want to try out more. That is the gist of my um, visualization dashboard. It's already given me some interesting insights on how I play and what things affect it. And I think it's a very interesting project that I enjoy doing. Thank you.